Hi, I'm James, and I'm here to talk to you about my Oxbridge journey. I was fortunate enough to receive an offer from Pembroke College, Oxford, to read chemistry, and throughout the application process, have learnt several things that I feel it would be useful to share with you. So, to start out, I would like to talk about the basis of any strong Oxbridge application: passion and excellence. In choosing to apply to Oxford or Cambridge, you should choose a subject that you are really interested in, and not one that you are just ambivalent on. Oxbridge tutors are some of the best in the world, and do not want to be teaching people who are not genuinely interested in their subject. However, this passion does not need to be evident from a young age, as the cliche may imply, and you may simply have become fascinated with a subject in lower sixth. This is completely fine, and you should not be deterred from applying to Oxbridge. Additionally, passion in your subject will really help the applications process, as the preparation for the interviews can be very intense, and loving your subject makes it much easier to get through it. Excellence is another foundational quality that tutors at Oxford and Cambridge expect. This does not mean that you need a full brace of 9s at GCSE. For example, I know from personal experience that a few 8s will not sour your application in any meaningful way. However, a real requirement for Oxbridge success is A stars across the board for your predicted grades at A level. Trust me, the tutors will be looking out for this, and your application will definitely hinge on the strength of your progress tests. Another great way to exhibit academic excellence is through Olympiads, camps, and other academic extension courses. A strong performance in an Olympiad will ingratiate you towards the tutors and prove to them that you are a strong learner. And trust me, the tutors do note it. In my interview, the tutors made reference to several Olympiads I took part in, even going so far as to check with the people who ran it as to my scores. So, now that you are in sixth form, what can you be doing to prepare for the rigor of the admissions process? Firstly, supercurricular learning or just reading around your subject. This is quite a simple one. If you don't know your stuff, then the tutors will know. You are never smarter than the tutors, and they can smell a lie from a mile off. The tutors are not just looking for ironclad knowledge of your A-level specification, but also evidence that you have read beyond the curriculum and know things that other students would not, as a good candidate must stand out from their peers. A great way to gain this knowledge is to talk to your teachers. This may seem obvious, but your teachers are the single greatest resource you have at your disposal. I must have personally pestered the chemistry teachers over 100 times with random questions that were related to chemistry. They are more than happy to answer your questions and help you progress. Another great way to study beyond the spec are textbooks, online courses, and Olympiad training for camps, as these allow for a great degree of independent self-study. Heading up clubs and societies related to your subject is also a must for your application, as it shows initiative. Now that you have some knowledge past the A-level spec under your belt, the next thing to do is your personal statement. This is a massive undertaking in your process, and a top-grade personal statement is necessary and not an option for admissions teams at Oxbridge. You must ideally be working on this throughout the summer and using any and all contacts that you have who would be of use to help proofread and check your personal statement. There should be zero, and I mean zero, deadwood in your personal statement. Think of it like a movie. Every single sentence should be progressing the story. In this case, your story, and trying to get the message across that you are the ideal candidate for their university. Have any work experience that is not strongly related to your field? In my opinion, cut it. Oxford and Cambridge are highly focused on the intellectual and theoretical aspects of fields, and you should stress that. However, this is not to say that for STEM subjects you should not stress practical experience, like supercurricular lab work for chemistry. Everything in your statement should be focused on conveying how good you are at your given subject, with a little bit of personality injected in there to make it not absolutely dry and boring to read. However, take my advice with a grain of salt and go with whatever your teachers say. For as much experience as I have here, they know infinitely more than I do. Remember to boast about any and all Olympiads and other academic strengths, as you can be sure that all other applicants will also be doing the same. Finally, let's talk about interviews and admissions tests. Firstly, I'm not the person to ask about admissions tests, as chemistry does not have an admissions test for Oxford. However, what I can tell you is that the lack of an admissions test for my course meant that the interview was all the more vital to my process, as others who had admissions tests could afford some mistakes in their interviews where I could not. However, I would like to stress for anyone taking an admissions test that the interviews are still not something to be taken lightly, as this is the only chance that the tutors will have to interact with you on a face-to-face basis. And first impressions do matter. Now, what can you do to prepare for interviews? The first thing is to read over your personal statement. Anything that you put in for further reading could come up in your interview. I personally only have one question about my statement, but it was about a rather complex topic. And if I had messed up that explanation, then my interview would have been significantly harder. For STEM subjects, however, the interviews are mainly focused on tricky problems to test how you think. The way to prepare for this is to get your critical thinking skills up. You should become familiar with hypotheticals and abstract thinking and any interesting thought experiments. Mock Oxbridge interviews are fantastic for this, and you should be getting as many of these under your belt before the real thing as you can. But nonetheless, there will always be a surprise waiting for you in the actual interview that no amount of studying your subject can prepare you for. You must be prepared to think on your feet and communicate this thought process to succeed in an interview. One final piece of advice is that the obvious answer may not always be the correct answer, as there are often traps set by the interviewers to shake you and see how you perform under pressure. If you do fall into a trap, as I did, don't worry. They expect this to happen and want to see you dig your way out of the trap, as that requires the mental acuity that they are really looking for. So, to summarize, the Oxbridge process is not easy, but if you work hard and you work smart, you will get to Oxbridge. However, if you do not put the effort in, then your application is effectively dead on arrival. So as you begin your applications process, I can only wish you the best of luck and the encouragement that it is possible, no matter how far out of reach it may seem.